Rook A5.
Yeah, what about rook a5? To defend
But
the c5
now, can I get this idea again of d5? And again, d5 is going to be rook b8.
Again, rook b8, yes. Knight c4, knight e5, maybe some regroup.
And there's definitely some tricks left. I wouldn't really call it a dead draw. So you're saying
not yet. No, it's not a dead draw yet. I mean, there's still like one more trick the Gukesh should find, and then one more defense Ding should find, and then it should be that. But yeah, no, if you don't find that defense, then you are in trouble. So here already the knight 6 is a threat. I think rook to a6 was more accurate, probably. Keeping an eye on the c6 square.
Right.
Now knight e5 is a little less threatening, but I still would do that. Still some pressure, tiny pressure.
Still an idea.
Yeah, you have to find one more good move, which is not that simple. Rook b8.
Yeah, I see all kinds of goes. Again, I cannot really take on d4. I see I might get background checkmate with some rook c8, knight c6 ideas. Not really so simple.
Yeah, no, so I see here quite clean solution on my screen to the right. So queen b1, rook b8 is the computer suggestion. It's very, very clean. Rook b8, threatening the knight, so dc5. And now rook a5. Quite clean. And there seems to be no way of defending the c5 pawn without giving up the...
Right.
So queen b4 maybe is the last move, yeah? Queen b4. And now I don't know. Do I need to make a move like h6? Do I have time for a move like h6 or?
Oh, you're saying the pawn on c5 is going nowhere, yeah? Like h6 or
yeah,
g6.
h6. Yeah, the computer says actually here h6 as well. Yeah, h6. Yeah, I think you shouldn't rush because the back rank maybe. Yeah, so h6, and now if you make a move like h4 or king g2, then I go rook c5, take everything on c5, take on b6, and that's it. And they take with the queen. And at the end of the line, rook d8 check is not checkmate. That's why h6 was necessary.
Yeah. That's
yes.
a nice...
Yes, so queen b1...
press here for a moment. Okay, king g6 probably.
Whoa, okay, nice. That's always good. Okay, maybe also e5 was also away, but this is always good in, to calculate to the end, yeah? There's no some surprises there. No, it's good, yeah. So queen b1, asking one more question, but that would be the last question. So maybe there are some other moves here. Queen c4 maybe is a funky move. Queen c4, but then probably rook a5.
Yeah, queen c4, rook a5. Yeah, and at the moment, while here Gukesh is trying to figure out what to do, maybe he senses he rushed it a bit at the critical moment with his queen b5 and knight b6 ideas. I think it's getting pretty apparent he missed the queen a7. John, your thoughts about what's happening here? Are we heading to a draw, or you think that Gukesh still will find ways to complicate matters and surprises? Because so far, one thing we learned from this World Championship match is there's always surprises, all kinds of twists that we did not expect.
I feel like I've made the mistake in earlier rounds of thinking, oh, this is going to liquidate and end in a draw. The one thing that makes me a little more confident in seeing that here is that there were 5 or 6 different routes Gukesh could have gone down to try and complicate the position. And each time we go down one more move in any of these routes, it gets less complicated. So even though there are still imbalances in the position, Ding Liren has fewer instances of things where he needs to be constantly juggling and keeping an eye on elements of the position. And that sort of simplicity is going to help, especially knowing that you have to make nearly 20 moves in about half an hour. But I feel like Ding probably has seen a path forward now. So he's settling in. Gukesh going to be using a bit more of his time for a think. He was 40 minutes up on the clock before. That time's now dwindling away. He's looking for alternatives. Otherwise, I agree with you, Artur, that it's looking like it's going to head into an equal situation. But this isn't the only live chess game that we are covering this month, folks. I think we should be making you hyper aware of that, because we've also got the Champions Chess Tour finals live and in person. And what's interesting is that you, watching this stream right now, could be attending yourself. You've got 8 of chess's greatest titans, so Magnus, Alireza, and MVL on your screen here. They're gathering in Oslo from the 17th to the 21st of December, and you're invited into the room. Along with the high-stakes chess, Your tickets also include perks like hand and brain chests, simultaneous displays, photo opportunities with the players, and a whole bunch more. If this sounds like something that's interesting and you want to give yourself a pre-Christmas treat, hit !CCT finals in the chat or visit go.chess.com/CCT finals 24 and secure your tickets now. So, Gukesh pondering his next move, trying to figure out in what other ways can he try and get a mistake out of the black pieces, out of Ding Liren, and continue to turn the screw in a position. Will Ding continue to defend resolutely and steer this game towards a draw? We find out after this.
The Champions Chess Tour Finals are heading to Oslo, Norway, December 17th to the 21st, and you can be there. Watch all of your favorite players, including Magnus, Wesley, and MVL. Tickets are going fast. Get yours now.
Gemini, can you help me plan my 3-day vacation? Generate a photo of a muscly capybara.
Explain the concept of supply and demand with OpenStax.
Hi Gemini, quiz me on the rise of industrialization.
Can you help me find an email?
Yeah, I can help with that.
In 2022, Gukesh was on your team that won bronze at the Olympiad, and I know he mostly did his own studying and preparation, although he was obviously a valuable team member. I want you to compare your assessment of him then with now, because you gave an interview to chess.com 2 years ago, and this is what you said about Gukesh. Not even sure if you remember. You said, he's self-confident, he has daring play, a risky approach, a narrow opening repertoire, he defends well in tough positions, and you called his time management interesting. Now, how many of those are still the case, and how many of those has he improved on?
I think my views stand as such in all the aspects.
Okay.
So I still feel his time management could be better, and his opening repertoire could be broader, but he's getting there. Now, compared to 2022 Chess Olympiad, and now he's playing more openings, so he's gradually broadening his repertoire. That's very good sign, and he's not rushing it. So he is confident that he doesn't have to expand too fast and not have a deep understanding of the openings he plays. So he's taking it gradually, which is a mature thing to do. So I'm happy that he's handling these issues. But when you're taking it gradually, it takes longer time to achieve the objective. But my view on how this stands as such.
This December, the world's top chess minds clash in the heart of New York City at the Fide World Rapid and Blitz Championship. Witness world number 1 Magnus Carlsen and other stars from across the globe. Rapid and Blitz, chess in its most thrilling form, unpredictable and unforgettable. Fast moves, tactics and blunders, and moments that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Witness the pinnacle of chess excitement. Get your tickets now at worldrapidandblitz.fide.com.
Welcome back to the Playing Hall in round number 9 of the Fide World Championship in Singapore. After defending in a very feisty Catalan, Ding Liren sends Gukesh into the tank now, and the time difference between the two players has gone back down to under 20 minutes. I think, Artur, if you take a look at the cameras and the body language here, it's really easy for anyone to tell Ding feels so much more comfortable now than he did half an hour ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that every single time that you make a move which forces your opponent to spend at least like 20 minutes or 30 minutes on the move, it automatically means it's a great move. That's what always has been one of my mottos, no matter the quality of the move. So if you're extracting out of your opponent half an hour, you made a great choice. And by now, I think that also there's no need for for Gukesh to hide his emotions. He knows that Ding has figured things out, and he's just trying to find this continuation to complicate matters, and I don't really see. So it's got to be somehow linked with this D5 and balancing idea, but somehow also I have this gut feeling, if I'm sitting here from the White's perspective, maybe I rushed at the wrong moment and there's nothing here, but that's what happens.
All right, I'm going to leave you folks, and in particular, Anish, I'm going to leave you with this. Queen B1 still not played. Apparently, our Silicon friends seem to be liking this move, but I guess White is trying to look for options here on how to continue finding winning chances out of this game.
Yeah, it's really a critical moment in the game, not because there's anything for White to have, but because you could just sort of end the game here if you want with White. If you give up all hope and of looking for an advantage, you can just call it a day, go DC5. Allow simplification, allow black to capture the c5 pawn, simplify with knight d7 further, and just make a draw. So this could be the last critical moment of the game. Knowing how Gukesh has played so far, I do not expect him to go for dc5. At the same time, I am not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what move to suggest, because everything allows a draw. I think maybe queen b1 or queen b3 first. Yeah, this maybe is practically the best shot he has. Asking Ding one more question, and if he answers that one, then call it a day. I don't think there is need to rush DC, and I suspect Gukesh will make one of those queen moves, and the ball will be back in Ding's court.
Yeah, I mean, so far also in the match, Gukesh has proven that he is quite a fighter, at least twice, maybe even more. I have already forgotten the count. He has declined the traveled repetition, like most famously in the last couple of games. So here, also, I don't think that d-Rex on c5 is really in his character. So he definitely wants to ask this one more final question, pose some problems. Like, I mean, of course, objectively, he realizes that probably he no longer has any advantage, but d-Rex on c5 is just too obvious, and why not throw into the mix the last practical chance, queen b1, even though objectively you know that your opponent is not going to blunder the c-Rex on d4 and knight c8 idea, but you always give it a try.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe he'll not blunder cd knight c8, but maybe he'll allow knight c4, knight d5 regroup, and maybe it'll be a little bit unpleasant. Definitely worth a thing, definitely worth a shot. There are also some other options. For example, you could make a very neutral move like king g2 or h4. But then the question, of course, is what if black plays h6, which is very useful for black to get some extra air for the king. Then all the back rank issue will be gone. So I'm not sure that's particularly dangerous, but it is also an option. And then after that, you can always... But he plays queen b1. I felt this was the best chance. I agree there. And rook b8, dc rook a5. That is the cleanest solution. Actually, according to the computer, it's probably by far the cleanest one. All the other ways would be slightly unpleasant. Wait,
is there something less clean, like which maybe feels human but less clean, which might give White some chances here? So the rook at a1 is kind of under attack. Can I retreat with the rook and just protect the pawn immediately? Can I do that?
Wow, no. Sorry, Ding has already seen everything. He has seen everything. I mean, for a second he did something with his body language that made me worry for him. Like he appeared suddenly like he is upset, but actually it was just he was just back in thought. He was reconfirming. He already
whoa
a6. Did he put on a6? Okay, that's also works. Yeah, it's also works the same way. Bishop c5.
So the point here is that he doesn't want to recapture on c5. He wants to recapture on b6. So if there's no back rank issues, this game is quite rapidly approaching the peaceful outcome. So how else I can even create some problems with the back rank?
No. There's nothing. Dink has anticipated this. He was thinking during Gukesh's time about all the different options. He saw queen b1, probably was a little worried for a second, then found rook b8, dc, and rook a5 was forced. Rook a6 also very, very forcing move. There's no stopping bishop c5. I think, this is. I think this is the end to this game as far as I'm concerned. I don't see any way forward for white, and I don't see black could almost pre-move bishop takes c5 as far as I'm concerned.
And there's no sacrifice on b6 like c6, c7. I'm trying to imagine some hypothetical scenarios where I might leave the knight hanging and somehow promote my c pawn. I don't really believe it myself.
Yeah, I was also trying that. Yeah, but I don't think that works. What I thought briefly might be a thing. Maybe queen d3. Try use the back rank.
All right, let's put it on the analysis board. So here we walk away from the queen d3. You're saying bishop takes on c5 and rook takes on c5 with the queen d8.
Yeah, but you have knight e8 always in the worst case. So even rook a takes b6, queen d8 check, knight e8. I think that is good enough. And besides. But I take and rook b8 again. I'm controlling the back rank. I think this is
right. I'm not in time to play rook d8.
Yes. Besides, just an extra option the computer mentioned after queen d3 is to just play. You actually have time for one more move. You can just play h6 apparently as well. White still cannot escape with the knight from b6, despite that the pin is gone. Just h6 is still possible and still forcing the draw on the next move. So there are even multiple ways at this point for black. I guess that, it's Gukesh's last thought in this game. He's going to try and find something, but there seems to be nothing there. Ding has played very accurately in the last few moves.
Right, and this immediate c6 move, I just want to double check it if it's not giving me any ideas here, so I'm just blundering on b6, but my big idea was that it's just ridiculous, I suppose.
I mean, yes, and the pattern sort of c6, rook b6, c7, it works very often, but the queen on b1 is hanging, so I could just take the queen on b1 after rook b6, c7, and even the pattern sort of works sometimes, but I guess the rook has to be on b1, not the queen, for this to work, and it's I don't think there's very limited options that white has. So light squared bishop moving makes no sense. Knight is pinned. Any pawn move makes no sense. The king move makes no sense. Any rook move doesn't change anything. So you can only really try and move the queen somewhere. And sort of wherever you move it, I can take on c5. So there's really, maybe queen c2. Let's try one more time. The back rank trickery now to a different angle.
So I suppose, I mean, again, you could ignore the pawn on c5, but let's try to make it work. So
let's just take and see if that works. Yeah, because I think it works again the same way. Yeah, queen. Okay, now we found a way to lose.
Which is again, I quite don't see.
Rook a1 actually. Suddenly you're trapping the queen.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's funny. Yeah, but it was a really nicely engineered artificial way of losing. I think queen takes b6 would
Maybe this is the final chance, actually. So after queen takes on here, which
I don't think, but queen b6, queen c8, knight e8. I don't think bishop c5 was forced at all. I think you could have again made a useful move there. I think I can make
again this h6, yeah.
Yeah, even rook a5 probably, but I think any move, but now the computer got a bit excited. Yeah, what's the trick here? Is there c6 now or no? I don't think that works. Maybe knight. No,
maybe it can be somehow combined with this idea to play rook a1 and still try to trap the queen, but again, I don't quite see.
Yeah, I don't see, to be honest. Also, the bar is giving a very strange eval. It's giving like 0.2 or 0.3, which is kind of a strange number to give. Like either give me zeros or give me a +1. Like what is that? Neither here nor there. I don't know. What is? I don't see any move that poses problems.
And of course, we have the access to evaluation bar, which the players don't. Yeah, so it's quite amazing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So
for players, it's even harder.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's the move is rook b1, bishop c5, queen c5. Yeah, again that thing with rook a1 probably. Yeah, so rook b6, rook d8 check now is nasty. Okay, so you have to be a little careful.
And again, here's the problem. Yeah, this is, by the way, the final trick to try.
Yeah, but this move, there's one more move that I mentioned that I think maybe is the cleanest of the queen c2. There's also the move rook a5. And that is probably the cleanest. He could have done it the move earlier, but I think now it also works really, really well.
But that's very computer-like, no? I mean, you play rook a6, queen c2, and then you play rook a5. You still have some back rank issues. I don't know,
very basic. Yeah, I understand that moving the rook to a6 and then a5 is a little counterintuitive. At the same time, like this is really very forcing calculation. Yeah, that I think Ding is very good at. Like it's a very simple line to calculate. Just rook a5. You verify once again by elimination what are the moves of the opponent, and it's very easy to do elimination on this position. Like this position is very easy to calculate. Very easy to just calculate it out at the end. There's very little options White has.
Let's see if the players are gonna figure it out, because indeed Queen c2 feels to be a nice trick to try it. I mean, again, this idea of playing bishop c5, queen c5, rook a1, try to trap the black queen on a7. Here, despite the fact that Ding has achieved almost a draw and he can proceed to the break.
But also, I could also do the same. I was now wondering, maybe more challenging than queen c2. Like I could do the same with the queen on b5 or b4. Like let's say queen b5. I think you anyway have to go bishop c5.
And now what? After bishop c5, queen x6.
Yeah, and c5? Then we are back to that same position. Yeah, with where you have to stay with the queen.
Yeah, queen b6 and
queen c8, knight e8. Yeah, again this.
C8. And there's no rook d8, by the way. Yeah, for many reasons why there's no rook d8. All right.
Yeah, but just take the queen and give love to the king. Yeah, or queen takes d8 as well. Yeah, there's basically no. This idea doesn't really work that way if the queen is hanging. Yeah. So actually, against queen c2, also then bishop c5 is the simplest. Why not bishop c5? Basically, against any queen move, bishop c5 is the way to draw. Queen c5 and then queen b6, not rook b6. Yeah.
Yep.
I guess this is the thing that Ding has calculated, and that's the way to fully simplify.
So, what is your impression, Anish, so far about the match? Which were your most thrilling moments of the match, the games that impressed you the most, and what were the moments that you were surprised the most?
Well, I think the match started with a massive bang. Yeah, the fact that Ding won the first game with the black pieces too was an absolute shocker. I mean, the prediction polls before that game, I even did one on my own Twitter, but also like any other prediction poll, they're like, I think 10% of people that thought that he might win, that didn't think that voted for that option. Like, it's rare that it's like that low. Against like 90% of the likelihood, against all the odds, he managed to win that game with black, which is really, really remarkable. And the match, it continued to live up to expectations. Gukesh came back that very next day. I was really impressed with Gukesh's prep, although today is somewhat of a relief for me to see as a professional. Like I was really, really worried that like I'm so far behind Gukesh that like he's surprising me with like every single day with new ideas. I'm like, okay, maybe I should go back to work because I'm completely out of my knowledge. But today, at least there was something that Gukesh played that I knew about and that's harmless. So like, it's not every day that Gukesh is able to come up with these insane ideas, because that would be a bad news for me. But still, his prep still impressed me very much. I think there was a lot of fresh ideas. He had a wrinkle in that Carlsbad you mentioned. He had a lot of depth in the French. The first game, even though he lost the game, he also brought this rook e1 to life with black. He played this quite epic f6 idea in the English yesterday, which is quite rare. So he did a lot of work with both colors, and the prep was really, really good. Ding also trying with the white pieces, every time some different small system. Had little ideas there. In reverse Queen's Indian got a game. In the Italian, he got a game. So I think the prep has been really, really good by both players. I appreciate it a lot. Ding's black prep also quite remarkable. He played the French. Now, what could be a disappointment? Well, I guess not from a spectator's point of view, because I kind of root for the match to be equal. But I guess, let's say, from Gukesh's fan point of view, the expectation you have is on him to really convert everything, because he's converted like lots of winning positions going up to this tournament. He won the candidates. He scored many wins at both Olympiads. It's just absolutely insane scores that he put up at Olympiads. So people are used to see him win, and he showed that also in the second game where he got the chance. He played it really well. And it wasn't so simple, because some people say that, well, it was easy to win. But then, I saw the recap by Kramnik. And Kramnik, for example, was saying that Gukesh, he thought without the engine, Gukesh made some inaccuracies. And he was suggesting moves that would actually miss out on the winning advantage, So Kramnik wasn't seeing the right moves, but Gukesh did there. So there were some really good signs there. But in the last couple games, when Gukesh would get a chance, he would not always capitalize on it, which is somewhat uncharacteristic of Gukesh. I mean, well, it's a high expectation to expect him to win every single winning position, but it's something that we are, as a Gukesh fan, you'd want to see. So as a disappointment, I could mention that as one thing that Gukesh missed a few opportunities at this point. And another disappointment, of course, if you're looking at it from Ding's perspective, I guess, as he in his camp, you see him getting a lot of promising positions too, and you see him not necessarily messing them up, but just not going for it fully. He took a few repetitions when he really shouldn't have objectively. So he was going to repeat in a better position in the London game. I forget the game number. And he simply repeated in the position yesterday, which it didn't look amazing to me for whites, by no means. But according to computer, it was simply winning. I checked it afterwards with a strong computer. Apparently, it was winning, which just is like blowing my mind, but it still was the case. So the fact that he shut the game down a few times when he was on the better side of things, I guess if you're a Ding fan and you're a Ding team, you are somewhat disappointed about that. So these are the
things. About that. Speaking about that, I wanted to bring this up. Do you think it's it has to do purely with psychology, or it's like a larger match strategy? Maybe he is just trying to provoke Gukesh to go at him at the critical moments, like already we could see it in yesterday's game. So Gukesh was objectively, according to an engine, having a worse position, but it was not very clear. And maybe he is, in a way, taunting his opponent at the critical moment, charge forward, so that he makes a mistake at the wrong moment, and he just simply doesn't believe that even though he has the better position, that he can convert him to the victory. So maybe this is like a very smart strategy all along. He just needs to win the match, not the single game.
No, I mean, I think that's like a really would be a really nice storyline, to sort of dismiss Ding's lack of capitalizing on his opportunities as like match strategy. I don't think that's a conscious choice. No, and he's a very honest person. I think he doesn't lie. Even the whole strategy like that, it would be like it's a very cunning strategy that would be more characteristic of someone who is trying to deceive, a little bit, deceive his opponent, trying to lure him somewhere. I don't think that's fundamentally in Ding's nature. I think he's a very honest, like by all means honest guy. And even these things that are like legal and allowed, but are based on deception, are not dear to him, and he doesn't want to do it this way. So I don't think it's strategy. But what I do think is that I was thinking about his obvious lack of confidence. And I think there are three factors to that, and I think people only focus on one. I think, of course, coming off a difficult period, having some issues that are like mental, and even they say they're even like health issues, like he couldn't sleep, and he was saying he took some medication for that. A few months ago he mentioned it. That is one factor that everybody talks about. But I think there are two other factors, and one of them is that, first of all, I believe when I played Ding at his peak, in that 2019 tournament where he beat me and he beat Carlsen. That was like peak Ding. Yeah, it was best tournament of Ding in terms of level, in terms of play. His rating was 2800. Even there, his confidence was not his strongest suit. I remember even in the game against me that he played amazing. And I remember in the opening, he was shaking his head a little bit. He was dismissive of his own opening idea. I remember he was not very positive about it. His body language suggested to me that game that he was pessimistic of his own chances, which was one of the reasons why I feel I misplayed the game as well. I remember that I felt very safe there. I felt that he is not optimistic. And in fact, I went for something ambitious, which backfired. So he was never a very optimistic player, even at his peak. He was always a little bit on the pessimistic side. That is just his character, even at his best form. And the third reason is that I think he sees equal score as an advantage. I think he thinks, first of all, that's defensive thinking anyway, but also the fact that the tiebreak is rapid and that he probably thinks the rapid improves his chances because Gukesh is notably better the slower the game is because he is not experienced in the time scrambles. I feel that is another reason that while the score is even, in his head, it's like he has a tiny lead that he actually is protecting. So I think these two other factors, they combined with his sort of negative state in the last few months, they make him just insanely defensive. All three things combined.
Yeah, that's really interesting that maybe indeed he feels comfortable with the match situation being tied. I'm not really sure if he's really such a big favorite in the tiebreak in case it ever comes to this, but basically with every single game that concludes, I think we're getting there. We're getting close to the finish line where the match score is going to be quite equal. It's not going to be like, as some people predicted, like +3 for Gukesh. So the Dink is, not playing his best chess. Apparently, the match is much, much closer than most people expected. So, yeah, tiebreak is something we cannot rule it out. But Anish, there's one thing I would like to pinpoint, one fun fact of the day, because I'm sure you were following the previous games, the first 4 games. I believe it was the first 4 games where the one pawn in the black's camp was not making a single move. That was the B pawn. Yeah, for some reason, this B pawn from a black perspective would never budge. It would never move. And some people already were creating memes like, when is the B pawn finally going to move? Well, there you go. Now we can talk about the E pawn as well for white, because the white pawn on E2, which is typically the normal way for you to fight for the center, has not moved for the last 74 moves. So 51 moves in game 8 and 23 moves now. I mean, I'm usually quite fascinated by these little weird things, but yeah, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, I have to admit though, it is shocking, given that they played the English opening and the Catalan. I think these are the two openings where the e-pawn is very often staying very low back. So sort of, yeah, characteristic to these openings. And the fact that he played, 2 of them in a row, Ding, that is on white side of the English and black side of the Catalan. Yeah, the fact that these 2 openings happen in a row, yeah, it's a little bit of a coincidence. Obviously there are openings like the London system where the e-pawn is just gonna move, like, for sure. You gotta develop the f1 bishop and don't go to fianchetto it when the bishop is already on f4. So obviously e4 self-explanatory as well, and some other d4 openings where the e-pawn has to go. Of course, Catalan or any English, in both cases, what happens is that you develop the f1 bishop to g2, you fianchetto it, and that of course is then explaining that you have to move the g-pawn. And that means that you don't then move the e-pawn, right? So, of course, in a fianchetto opening, which is the Catalan or the English, then, of course, the chance that the e-pawn will never move is then much higher because it doesn't have to move to develop the bishop. So it's sort of that. The b-pawn is an even bigger coincidence. I think it hasn't moved for the first two or three games. It was that was a bit more random because, okay, b-pawn
was like random. 3 or even more.
3, yeah, 3, I think. Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, that was just kind of random. But e-pawn not moving... it's sort of a feature of a fianchetto opening, I would say.
Right, indeed. And in the meantime, here you can see that Gukesh is not yet making a move. And actually, for first time, basically, since the very beginning of the game, he is having less time on the clock. I mean, at some point, he had 50-minute lead, maybe even slightly more, and now he's 5 minutes behind. Okay, it doesn't really matter because the game is about to most likely finish in a draw. So Gukesh is choosing for his final trick and then basically call it a day. But Anish, I have a question to you. Is this something you have also noticed, that whenever you have a huge lead on the clock, you tend to make your choices you tend to spend more time on your choices. It's like a psychological edge. So sometimes when you would have an even amount of time on the clock, you would make the move faster. But since you have like 30-40 minute lead on the clock, you feel like you are very comfortable. You can sit on the position longer, feel the nuances, and eventually you burn all of your time advantage. Is this something only for me, or you also have noticed something like this in your own games?
Yeah, definitely a feature, of course. Understandably, you just have sort of a extra time, and sometimes you want to convert, because time advantage is not something you convert into a full point usually, because you don't get to flag people in most of the time. So you got to convert time advantage into the board advantage, somehow, and that probably has to go through a proper thought. I think the other reason today Gukesh is now burning all the time is because he sort of needs the time to accept that game is going to be a draw, and there's no need to have the time. Like, it's going to be a draw now. You might have a draw with 1 hour. You might have the draw with the 0 minutes. There's also no need to preserve the energy because tomorrow is a rest day. So there is just no reason not to think a bit more than you would otherwise. And if your game would continue, if position would be sharp, it would be very dangerous to drop lower in the clock, right? But if the game is about to end, it just doesn't matter. So I think that this long sword is something I predicted. Gukesh is really trying to fight, and it reminds me of a game that Carlson played against Nepo in their match. There was one game where Carlson had prep, then Nepo responded well, and then Carlson was slightly better, and he could try to somehow play, but like his try was to spend all of his time, and then he didn't find the try, and that was the try, and the game was drawn. Like, sometimes you can try on the board, and sometimes you can try in your own head, and you fail, and it's a draw.
Now the question is, has Dink figured it out? I think he has. I mean, Queen B5 definitely shouldn't have been a surprise here. So normally what players are trying to do here, what they're trained to do in these situations is just you double check. I mean, can I indeed take on C5? What is the final trick that my opponent is trying to unleash upon me? I think by now already he should see the idea. Bishop C5, Queen C5, Rook B6, and Rook A1 idea. Sure, he already saw it a long time before. Maybe he is trying to figure out, can I play it with complete luxury? So Rook A5, of course, is a move, but can I even include this H6, and the pawn on C5 seemingly doesn't go anywhere. So what's the cleanest way, as an issue would really like to say, what's the cleanest way to get this game to a draw? And by the looks, Dink has figured it out.
Yeah, I think in these cases it's a matter of taste. Some might how you define cleanliness. Like, it's also clean. You can start choosing. Do you find it the cleanest that your knight doesn't have to go away from f6 to e8? Because that you find it a little bit greasy? Okay, then go h6. Do you find it the cleanest that the pawn on c5 disappears the earliest? Okay, then take it on c5. So it's a matter of taste. They are both extremely clean. It's a matter of taste. I would think that in some sense the cleanest here would be to eliminate the pawn right away. It's not to give Gukesh one more move to come up with some miracle thing. So just take on c5, Queen b6, knight e8. I think it's pretty clean for me. But in this particular case, h6 I think works just fine. I don't see any way white can exploit the extra move. Maybe I don't see any single.
Maybe let's again put all
Rook
the
B1
choices
maybe
on the analysis board. I'm sorry, which
one?
Rook,
maybe if you make h6, there is maybe Rook B1, and then Rook A5. Yeah, there's just no try. Yeah, Rook B1, I think Rook A5.
Yeah, so h6, Rook B1. We cannot defend against Rook A5. The pawn is falling. The position is very symmetrical. Also, the other choice we were discussing before is this bishop takes on c5 idea, queen c5 again, rook b6, rook a1, drops the queen on a7, so it's got to be queen b6. Queen b6, Yeah, and basically that's it. Yeah, so there's nothing else here. Queen c8 check, one more final try. 98 is a move here. By the way, white cannot play rook d8 and be ambitious because black can just accept it here, take here, and maybe play something like g6, and suddenly it's black who plays for the win. So it's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, last trap, will he take with the rook or the queen? But he's had so much time to think about it that there's no way he falls for it.
Double exclaim move, look at that.
Yeah, I think the feature must have been programmed in a way where you sacrifice a temporary sacrifice of a piece gets you a double exclam.
Yeah, indeed. So I think we're seeing the final moves here of the game. So the match regulations require the draw cannot be agreed before move 40, which is already a standard rule for highest level tournaments. And the idea is to motivate the players to fight it out, because some time ago players were very often not really fighting it out and agreeing to quick draws and then just maybe fighting it out in a couple of games. So that's why there's this so-called Sofia rule, move 40, you cannot agree to a draw unless, of course, there's a trefoiled repetition before. And trefoiled repetition, it means you could agree basically to draw even after move 10. You call the arbiter and it's a draw. So either way, I don't really think there's much fight left in this game.
Well, there's one thing left at stake here, because now it's kind of become a thing that some pundits, they're looking at the average accuracy of the games, of all championship matches in general, but also this match in particular. Now, the more moves you make, the better will be your average accuracy in this game. So the players should try and make as many moves as possible if they want to appear more accurate in context of history.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, yeah, a couple of moves were played. What we missed was bishop c5, queen c5, captures rook c6, captures here g5, king g2. And we are rapidly approaching the move 40 mark, at least from my understanding, is that there's like a common feeling between both players is that the game is heading to a draw. And usually in this position, when you have 4 pawns each at the king side, only rook each, and both players have 1 minor piece each, is that you usually don't spend a lot of time here. Or do you? Are you still looking for chances? I don't really see any chances.
No, black is looking. I mean, Gukesh is slightly played slightly clumsy, I feel. That he is now slightly on the bad side of a draw, but it's such a draw with such a margin that Ding is not even going to try. But still, you see black is a bit more comfortable. Knight against bishop on one wing, always a small edge. But not in classical chess, not now, and just there's no point. They just want to go to rest day, and yeah, black cannot really press. But if anyone is a bit better, that's black at this point.
Right. So king f1, king g7 is played. What's again the cleanest way? What's the cleanest way to?
Yeah, I think maybe rook d4. Maybe rook d4 h4 is quite nice. Control the 4th rank, get rid of the h pawn. That's maybe the cleanest.
Mm-hmm. h3.
Yeah,
stopping any knight g4
yeah,
ideas.
Just so many ways here. I think they'll just repeat moves, frankly.
No, actually, it's Dink was trying to be a bit aggressive. Yeah, rook b4, of course, is always there.
Very controlled aggression, I think. This is a very controlled aggression. You know, if white has had a pawn on e4, for example, if white was slightly more exposed, you could have some weak squares which you could play around, try to reroute the knight to e5, try to target f2. But with the pawn on e2 and f2, there's just nothing to do here. You need a little more air for black. Like, yeah, imagine you have pawn on e4, pawn on f3. Black can try and do some damage. With the pawn on e2, Ding's h5, g5, h5 is just sort of he's slightly faking it, but I don't think he's going to.
Maybe here the game could conclude like this, like king e1, rook d2, rook d1. Okay, no. Rook a1 instead is played. Okay, doesn't really matter. There's so many moves here, but I was trying to understand the move h3, which of course takes care of the g4 square. I was imagining maybe there's an idea to play king e1, rook d2, rook b1, rook d1, rook b2, rook d2, and this is how you find the trefoiled repetition. Doesn't really matter as the pace of the game increases because both players, they know where this game is heading. I think also this bishop might go to d3, white is rock solid, and black is not making any progress.
Oh, I think bishop b7, rook b2, bishop c6, rook c2 is the one that's going to happen now. This is my bet.
Oh, that's an interesting way.
Okay, he's doing your thing. Well, I don't think the bishop is better on d3 than it was on c6, because on c6 it was cutting all the squares from the knight. I don't think it's an improvement to white's position. And I think it was also nicer to fish for move repetition. You don't really want to end up playing this position. It's really not the kind of position you want to play. But again, it's very good for the average accuracy. Very good for the average. Let me see on chess.com what is the average accuracy stats. I think it's improving with every single move they make. Yeah, it's not. They reach now 98.8 versus 98.9 accuracy.
Do you care for the accuracy on yourself? Like when you play the game and you play the 99% accuracy, or instead you play like, I don't know, 95%? Does it matter to you?
Well, it definitely matters for me the quality of my game. I believe I judge it together with the engine much better than the cap score for sure. But it's nice sometimes. I think I remember when I beat Fabiano in the Grand Chess Tour this year. I remember that the accuracy score and the engine matching was extremely high in that game. I was very, very pleased with that. I didn't realize it during the game that it was like something really good, but actually it turned out that I played really, really well. So that was nice. I remember once I played Hare Krishna and I was in endgame, and at the time the engine I used, I at some point had a sequence of like a lot of first lines, like a long sequence of like many engine moves. And I also found it very, very pleasing somehow, especially since I won in the end. So it can be. I think if the accuracy score is also matching your own feeling, that was a good game. It's pleasant, but sometimes, especially with the draws, it's usually is an indicator of the boringness of the game. Yeah, frankly, like if it's a draw and the accuracy is 99, it usually means you didn't really give it a shot. Like, it rarely means that you both fought incredible, because if you fought incredible, probably you forced your opponent to make a small mistake here or there.
But it probably also gives you a great satisfaction when you play a sharp game, you come home and the engine says you play 99%.
But I think then usually you see that you got banned in these cases after that. Because I don't think that really happens in life. Like you don't play a complicated game with 99 accuracy. No? I think 99 accuracy? I mean, really complex game? I don't think so.
I mean, okay, not really complex, but not really a shy, boring draw, but like a fighting game where you
exactly. No, that's exactly the kind of game I had with Fabi. It was quite complex, reasonably complex, and it got to like 99 accuracy. I found that, yes, very, very, very pleasing indeed, and was very happy about that. And the cap score, I think what it takes into account is the thing is when the game is very, very long, then it raises and there's, let's say, only one mistake, it gets dissolved. Yeah, it's like basically the game is like water and the mistake is like whatever, dirt. Yeah, so if you have a lot of water and a little bit of dirt, it will be dissolved. So sometimes you see a game which is very long and there is like one blunder. Because it's so long, it dissolves this blunder into a pretty high accuracy score. So I think that somehow they should, if they really want to make it work very well, they should have a feature where they cut off the unnecessary moves. Like from some point onwards, okay, like in this game, for example, the moment queen c5, queen b6 happened, queen takes b6, now cut it off and don't count other moves for the accuracy score. They no longer count, in fact. Because you are now in the zeros. Computer says 0, 0, 0, and whatever you play, it will be all 0, 0, 0, and it will be all perfect. And it's not relevant. I think, by the way, taking a bit of time.
Is he really thinking how to be ambitious here because his pawns are a bit more advanced, or he's looking for the fastest way to make the draw? There's no way he can be ambitious here, can he?
No, no, black, I think position-wise, black should be the one ambitious, but I think Ding is now so, these days, he's so fine with not extracting the maximum out of his position that I think he's just looking for a way for this game to end. And knight d7, knight e5 to me seems very nice. Like, why not?
Improve the knight. I slightly don't like the move g4 because, again, white doesn't really have to trade the pawns. You can always play h4. And why would you position more pawns on the color of your opponent's bishop, even though it's not really anything terrible, simply unnecessary thing? Maybe he's considering some e5, e4 ideas, but again, the question is, of course, why? Why would you do that?
I think he's more just looking at like how do we sort of end this? How to give Gukesh the door to exit? But I can't imagine he's worried like here. Like he cannot be worried here. Like this is absolutely harmless. So I guess maybe he's 97 feels really right. Yeah, 97 was played.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many ways to try and repeat. Like bishop e4, knight f6 is one very, very tempting way. I think they should find each other here.
Now, what do you do here? I mean, do you like meet your opponent halfway? Because objectively, of course, you want to fight it until the very end, but there's no illusions. Nothing is going to happen here. It's like a mutual agreement between both players. We both know that it's going to be a draw here. Let's just meet you halfway, and this is how you make a trap with repetition, where it never happens.
Yeah, I think you try to do that. I think you basically first try to read the opponent. You rarely have some dirty, like not like really dirty, but like you have people, and there's one in the magazine that he was pretending that he is going for a draw and into